Whoops, it started recording without me actually being ready or telling it to. I've got to press some kind of a button. I don't think that's the button. Hello, yes, today is what's the date? The 7th of August 2024. I would like to say good afternoon to any digital historians of the future attempting to reconstruct 21st century humanity from my digital remains. I am certainly representative of the human race during this period. Yeah, okay. Thanks, phone, for starting the recording before I was ready and had my thoughts together. Let me just check what time it is. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm currently in my mum's fancy car. It is one of those hybrid electric thingamabobs, and because she's been away, I'm supposed to turn it on for like 5 minutes so that the battery doesn't die, but I don't remember if I'm pressing the right button, because when she showed me this, the engine did not start running, so I'm a bit like, okay, maybe because there's two different buttons that look similar and I don't know if I pressed the right one. But I assume if the car is starting up, it must be fine. I don't understand why a car should need to be run every week to avoid dying, but there you go. Technology has deteriorated as it's gotten fancier. Yeah, no, so by the time that you're watching this, though, it will be after Friday, and my parents will be home. So if you remember my vlog where I was not okay, and I'm still not okay, but I was especially not okay that day, yes. One of the key stresses lately has been my parents going away and leaving me with my disabled brother and a rotating roster of carers. Now, there are other things going on because it's also my birthday month, and I can't remember if I talked about this or not, but let's go through a bunch of the things that are stressing me out while I sit here in the car, running the battery, running the engine, whatever the fuck I'm supposed to be doing here so that her car doesn't die. Yeah, no, I think a lot of the mood problems started when Mum asked me what I want for my birthday, and she suggested a freezer for Triton's stuff, Triton being my puppy, who is a snow dog, and so he likes frozen stuff. Yeah, she suggested getting a small freezer for my birthday. And, you know, for me, I don't even know where to start with this. Okay, I mean, it probably sounds a little bit petty, but if you take into account my childhood trauma issues and my birthday really not being generally a fun time of year for me, I've got a lot of baggage surrounding it. Anyway, so the first thing is a freezer. It's not really a present for me, it's a present for my dog. And then it's presumably a present for me because supposedly I care that much about this dog that I'd want a freezer for him or something. Now, I do not have the same emotional connection to Triton that I did to Hope, so to me it's not really that. And then it's not even really a gift to Triton because we're currently using a small percentage of the current freezer, and you know, as I get the hang of his needs, I'm going, like, you know, I'm already thinking, oh, I need to cut down on a few things because I don't think they're really working out for him, and he's growing and he's changing, so, you know, I'm hoping to reduce how much freezer space I'm using. Anyway, so at present, Triton is not having problems with the freezer, and I'm not having problems with the freezer. The reason my parents want to get me a small freezer is because they find Triton's use of the freezer inconvenient. It's a gift for them, and they're painting it as something for me. And anyway, I said no, because like it's kind of a soulless gift as well, like a fucking freezer. I said, like, I mean, when we first got him, the breeder insisted on him having Leica, which is like a home cooked. It's a company, but like, you know, they try and make these home cooked-ish meals because they're anti-kibble, blah blah blah. At least it's a little bit. Whoa! The car is talking to me. It's one, like, this car has so much tech in it. I'm genuinely scared. It's like our toaster. You know, our toaster is Skynet, and I think I've shown you maybe a short of that. Anyway, basically the freezer's for them. It's a soulless gift. You know, it doesn't really understand me at all. It's just like, you know, they notice me spending a lot of time with this dog. Oh, I must really like the dog. Let's get her something for the dog that we also will benefit from. the reason I spend so much time with Triton is because I realized pretty quickly that they weren't going to help like they said they would, and that I couldn't really trust them not to teach him bad habits. So that's why I spend so much time with the dog, trying to make him into a good dog. Anyway, no, when we first got him, you have to put it in the freezer because it's fresh food and you don't want it to go off, and they send you like 2 weeks supply in one go. And of course it lasted a lot longer for him because I wasn't feeding him that amount every day. And so at the time I did look into small freezers, and they have these like vanity freezers, the smallest ones that I can find, and they have like a glass panel on front so that you can show off your ice creams. It's really weird, and they were so expensive, and I was just like, nah, it's fucking not worth it. So, you know, like, I've foregone freezer space. Like, Mum was putting my bread, because I like a specific type of toast bread because it just seems to toast better than, say, sandwich bread. And so that now lives in the fridge. I don't know why it ever went in the freezer, but I was pointing out to Mum, like, it can just go in the fridge. It'll be fine, you know. And then I'll just buy extra bread when I need it. And then, yeah, I don't need to have chips and stuff, and Mikey doesn't eat that much chips and stuff. Why is that taking up freezer space? We don't really need that much stuff. Anyway, blah blah. I did look into it. The smallest ones are overpriced garbage. And then if you get a bigger one, I point out to Mum, like, so I didn't say all of these things, but what I did tell her is, like, you know, it sounds like more like a gift for Triton, and also, where are we going to put the thing? We have no space. You know, they're annoyed with him taking up so much space in other ways, and then you want to get a freezer. Where are we going to put it? And she didn't have an answer for that, and I'm like, because, like, if I had gone and bought the freezer, that is what they would have told me. They'd be like, where are you going to put this? And got mad at me. Now it's their idea, and I'm just like, I think that's been 5 minutes. Can I turn this off now? Now it's EV mode, but the engine's still on. What's this one? I shouldn't. Let me just turn off the car. I think I just pressed the power button. I'm not used to cars without keys. The first time I had to drive a car without a key was the weirdest thing. I think I just pressed. Whoa! Yeah, so the seat moves by itself. It's freaky. I've got to also turn off the lights because... How do I do it? There we go. It just has, like, automatic lights on. Anyway, we'll stay here for a bit because Triton's inside napping. Yeah, I mean, I think the car... I don't know. She wanted me to do it, like, on Thursdays, and so I'm doing it a day early because they're back on Friday anyway. It's giving me a trip summary. Oh my god, okay, I think it's turned off now. Yeah, anyway, the freezer thing. I mean, does it sound petty? But I have a lot of issues, and, you know, I have this whole gift buying philosophy in how to buy people a good gift that I haven't been doing this year because, like, last year was really emotionally terrible, and this year I'm just like, I cannot do that for them. So I've been putting in less effort, although it's still been, you know, better than anything they can think of. And so, like, the way you buy gifts for people is you pay attention throughout the year to any, like, small things they say that they like, or, you know, you just pick up things, make little mental notes or actual notes if that's what you need to do, and then, you know, keep your eyes open and come up with ideas and buy something that they actually like. Like, I've got this whole thing. So you have to know a person to buy them a good gift. My parents don't know me. They can't buy good gifts. And it's just like... Oh no, they're meant to be my parents, they don't have any interest in my life, and with all this, like, childhood trauma, you know, most people in society don't hurt me. I guess that's the schizoid thing. But my parents can hurt me, and I think it's because they're part of how I ended up like this in the first place. So, there's that. Anyway. Blah, blah, blah. So I think that sort of set off a lot of thinking about my birthday and set off a lot of, like, trauma memories about past birthdays and just, like, shit in the past in general. And then, of course, this trip comes up, almost 2 weeks long, not quite, but the way they've set it up, like, I put my foot down because in the previous holidays when they both went away, my other brother was living with us, and so he was able to, you know, look after all those different things. I don't know how he does it. He even worked in disability care at one point, and I'm just like, I could not work in disability care. I have had enough of it just living at home, and, you know, there was a point where I stopped being able to help as much with Mikey as well. But my other brother just, like, dove headfirst into the disability world at one point. But anyway, he's very capable. He can do all that stuff. But I put my foot down when, once he moved out and got too busy to come back and help. I said to Mum, I cannot do that. And if something happens overnight, even if all he does is shit himself, I cannot change his nappy. What the fuck do you want me to do if things go wrong at night? Like, I cannot handle those situations. And so she did vehicle exit assist deactivated. Careful when exiting vehicle. Holy shit. It tells you, like, when there are hazards around, and apparently it does it when you're exiting the vehicle as well. It seems to know I'm still here, though, which is freaky. This car is fucking freaky. Anyway, I feel like if I stay here, it might eat me. Should I move this to my room, this vlog? Maybe I should. This car is freaking me out. I can't put this in the fridge yet. I've just been to the pub to get me Coke. I think it was actually a Pepsi, but Coke and pizza, margarita pizza. I have to have a lactase before I eat it. Maybe I should sneak in the house. Just like if Trenton hears me, he might start howling. How long has he been in his crate? About an hour and a half. We have about 30 minutes. That's enough time to finish a vlog, but I'm gonna get out of this car. It's freaking me out too much. Give me a moment. Can I pause this? Will it pause for long enough so that I don't have to edit it? Alright. I can't remember where I was up to. What was I talking about? Them going away and the carer arrangements. Yeah. So, yeah, I put my foot down about not being able to do, like, the overnight stuff, and then they got some carers together. And here's one thing that really pisses me off, is, when I, like, there's so much stuff that's happened over the past few years, but, there was a period of time, I think after COVID, I don't know if COVID messed with Mikey's sleep pattern or what, but there was a period of time where he was waking up at like 4 a.m, and it was really fucking with my sleep, and I was really not coping. And so, I suggested to the parents to keep him awake for longer at night, and maybe that would adjust his sleep patterns to be a bit later. And it was a fight to get them to agree to that. But then, of course, like, one of the problems is they're like, oh, but he wants to go to bed, and, he hears trouble, and, the easiest thing is to just put him to bed and pretend it's not a problem. And so at some point I suggested, like, an evening carer, and they got so mad at me, calling me selfish and all this kind of stuff. But then, of course, because now my other brother has moved out and there's no one else to look after him, then they have to get these carers in. And so they had to train someone for the afternoon, evening time slot. And it turns out Mikey really likes this, and they never apologized to me for having a good idea that they told me I was selfish for. Like, it's when they want to go on a holiday. Now it's not selfish. So there's stuff like that. Just like, they finally organized all the things when it suited them, not when I was needing the help. Like, when I suggest something that turns out Mikey loves, because he loves the afternoon, evening carers, he screams when they arrive because he's so happy they're there. It's just, it's shit. I had a good idea and they poo-pooed it, but then when it suits them, now it's fine, and they never apologized to me for calling me selfish and all this kind of shit. And, there's just, like, no awareness. And this happens a lot. Like, it's the same thing with, like, when I first came out as an atheist and stopped going to church, and they were, like, super pissed off at me and tried to, like, make me feel bad about it by buying my other brother Sunday clothes, like fancy Sunday clothes or whatever, and then showing them off to me and being like, he's coming to church, so he gets these fancy clothes. And I'm like, I mean, I don't give a shit about normal people clothes. I didn't give a shit about any clothes back then. But then now, no one goes to church. I think Dad might occasionally, because he's involved with some church thing, but not as much as he used to. I don't even know if he's done it for ages. Maybe he's retired from that as well. So no one goes to church. But because I was the first to stop going, I got all the shit for it. There's this stuff that happens where, like, I do something first, I am punished for it, and then everyone does it anyway, and suddenly it's not a problem, and no one ever thinks, gee, maybe we shouldn't have given her such a fucking hard time for that. Anyway, so there's that. But also with the way that the carer arrangements are, so on like Friday to Monday morning, there's one carer who did that whole block. And then from Monday to Thursday, he would have a morning carer, and then a daytime carer, and an evening carer, and an overnight carer. But there's this time between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. where he has no carer. And of course, some of the day carers bring him home early and then fuck off. So there's no carer even longer. And then sometimes the evening carers are late. So there's like this huge gap that's at least 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. where I have to deal with Mikey. Now, fortunately, because I am a hard ass and I don't let Mikey get away with anything and I don't let him push me around, he doesn't tend to bother me. Like, it's like dog training. My parents let him get away with stuff, so of course he's a pest to them. But he knows with me, he's not going to get away with anything. So he generally behaves when it's just me. If someone else is around, he'll harass them. But if he's stuck with me, he behaves. He goes and does his own thing, and it's not too bad. But the problem with having this gap, and Mum didn't have to arrange it this way. I think one of the reasons, so the disability support system in Australia used to be all government run, and they would essentially dictate to you what supports you could get. And so Mikey used to have to go to a centre, and they would do activities with him or take him places, and then we'd have to pick him up. Like, I think with school there used to be a driver, but once he passed into the adult system, we had to get him there and get him home, and it was at set times of day. And I think that's why my sleep pattern got sorted to that, is I would sleep when they took him away. But anyway, with the NDIS, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, they changed it so that participants or whoever's looking after them or representing them can decide for them what supports they're going to have. So now instead of going to a centre, carers come to him. But we were initially still with the same government-funded people who got converted to private, and they would still set their own, what time of day things would be. And then since then, Mum ditched those guys and decided she was just going to organise carers herself, because those guys, they were taking advantage of their clients, just assuming that because they already had this huge client base, they could do all kinds of bullshit and overcharge and whatever. So Mum's like, fuck this, do it myself. She's a very organised lady. The problem is, because she's so used to that system, she just kept booking things in at the same times that they mandated, and there's no reason for that. You don't have to follow what they did. And then inexplicably, when they started organising evening carers, they made it from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. So the daytime would be, I think, 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. I don't know why. And then so now there's this 3 to 5 p.m. gap. And I'm just when she was organising this trip and organising care, for some reason she left that gap. And I think it's because she took for granted that I would be here and assumed that it would be fine to ask me to watch him. Now, the trouble is, I have to look after Triton. I have a schedule for him. I have to fit in my morning nap because I can't function. I have to, these days I'm going to bed earlier, but I have to wake up really early to make sure Triton goes out and does his pees and poos and feed him and just make sure he's behaving. Because I don't trust anyone else to do that. And with carers here, I'm waking up slightly earlier, although I've sort of eased off a bit because I just cannot function. Give myself an extra 15 minutes to get moving. But I'm up before 7, which is really difficult for me. I'm not a morning person. But I need to have my nap from 8:30 until about 10, just to get a little bit extra energy for the day. So I have to have my nap, and then I pretty much have to take Triton for his walk between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m, and then he will have his midday nap. And then after that, I've got basically no time to do anything or go anywhere because Mikey's going to be home. And so on the weekends, when we had that the care here the whole time, there was no 3 to 5 p.m. gap. So on days where it was raining, or I do my Sunday routine, and I usually have a shower in the morning rather than walking him. And when I say morning, it's late morning because that's when I function. So on the weekends, I was able to walk him in the afternoon. During the week, though, because I have to be home, there's no flexibility. Now, luckily, it hasn't rained early in the day yet. There's still another day or two to go. But it's like, meant that I couldn't be flexible with when I walk Triton. And then other things, so Mum also has expected me to do the shopping for like supplies, and Mikey eats a lot of pears, and so I just didn't buy him some for a while. I was like, he can fucking eat apple, and if he doesn't want to eat apple, he won't eat anything. He's getting fat because Mum overfeeds him. People just give him food because he complains. I do not do that. He is overweight, and the trouble is, like, you think I'm being mean. If he gets overweight, his medication's less effective. He either has to increase his medications or he could have a seizure. So, am I being selfish by saying don't eat too much? No, it's for his fucking health. But, people are like, oh, but he wants it and he's so annoying, let's just give it to him. I'm like, that's not the best thing for his health, but whatever. Anyway, I didn't have a lot of time to go shopping. I don't like going shopping on the weekend because that's when all the people are around and it's hard to park if I have to go and drive somewhere. I can complain about Pet Barn at some point too. My list of companies that I don't like anymore is growing, and I'm going to do a rant eventually. Anyway, so Mum's expecting me to be able to go out and get shopping done, and also with this 3 to 5 p.m. gap, I had to make her extend one of the daycarers until 4 p.m. because I had therapy, and she knows this. It's on the calendar, as if my therapy session on that day finishes at 3 p.m. There's no way I can be home at 3 p.m. and she arranged all this stuff without even thinking about stuff like that. So I had to get to extend just one day. And that day is also when Mikey happened to run out of light milk. He doesn't drink the same milk. I have lactose-free milk. For some reason, he has light milk. I don't know if it's occurred to them that he could also have a lactose problem because he's also half Asian. But anyway, and he wears nappies, and sometimes I hear that they're not pretty. I haven't been involved in that for a long time, but I'm just like, what if he has a lactose problem as well? Have you guys considered that? Anyway, never mind. I had to get him his milk on the way home from therapy, and I only just made it back at 4 p.m. Rushing to fit this ridiculous gap where he has no carer. And then, this week, what day was it? Today is Wednesday. It was Monday, I think I went out and did the shopping. And just trying to time my whole day so that I can be home on time. And not even on time, because the 4 p.m., the guy on that day, he's more reliable. But some of these carers, I don't know who they are. And there's one guy, the Monday guy, always leaves at 2:45. Which I don't know if that's a thing, or if he arrived early and is finishing early, or if he just sees me and thinks I don't know what's going on and I can't be bothered to get aggro. But, obviously I'll tell Mum, hey, these guys, they're not staying the full time they're supposed to stay. If you want to take an issue with that, I have taken notes on what times I had to look after Mikey. Anyway, so I basically have to be home by 2:30. Just to be sure. Which means, how am I supposed to get, if anything went wrong in my day, that's a lot of pressure to be home at the right time. And it also has meant that I haven't been able to do things like go out and see Deadpool and Wolverine, which is the first movie I've wanted to see in a damn long time because so many movies are just unappealing at this point in history. Anyway, so there's that. And then another issue is that carer on the weekends who is here for that whole time. She's one of those people who will do things right if you are explicit and show her what to do and give explicit instructions. But if there's anything vague or she doesn't know, she'll just make it up. Serenity now, insanity later. I found that so fucking stressful because, she was here one day when my parents left because they left stupidly early in the morning, and that day was fine because she was only, there until the following morning, and then it was the regular weekday carer who, has been doing it a long while and knows how things are done and at least has more of a sense about how to do things. But then, the full weekend that the lady was here, oh my god, I was so frustrated because I finally got myself into the studio to do some art. And my Patreon cult members have heard at least some of this story. And, to do art, I basically have to put Triton in his crate because it's really hard to get him to settle in that room with me. And he needs a nap at that time of day. So I put him in his crate and I told the carer, like, look, he's in his crate. He's just going to have a nap. I don't remember exactly how I phrased it, but I didn't explicitly tell her not to let him out, unfortunately, which is something I should have done. In the morning, she knows to let him out first thing in the morning so that he can go and pee and poo. But for some reason, she let him out of the crate on that Friday afternoon, and he went out, did a poo, and some of his poos have been a bit weird lately, and so I'm trying to figure it out, but like a little bit of poo got stuck to his bum, and she put him back in his crate with this poo still stuck to his bum. I asked her about it later, and she said he was barking. I think he was barking at her, because she doesn't have good dog sense, and I don't know, she might have been letting Mikey linger too much, and that was probably, he's a very excitable dog, he's probably wanting to play, and anyway, she didn't check. She put him back in with poo stuck to his bum. So, of course, his bum was dirty and the crate was dirty. And with the way that it was stuck to his bum, it was harder to clean than usual. And it was just super frustrating. And I had not had a good day in general. And it's just like all this kind of stuff. Another thing she did is I had told her, I put some rice on. We've got a rice cooker. And I showed her, like, when it's cooking, this light will come on. When it's done, this light will come on. And I also told her, I'm going to have some for dinner later. But I didn't explicitly tell her not to turn the damn thing off. So, of course, after I finished cleaning up Triton, which took a long time, and clean up his crate mat and all that, I discovered she had turned it off. And I turned it back on, but at that point, the rice, like, it kind of gets just a little bit crusty if it's not kept on the whole time. And it was just like, oh my God. And so the thing about these carers, including like the other evening carer, like they just don't, like the only carer who really thinks about me from this current rotating roster is the morning carer on Mondays she does to Friday, Monday to Friday mornings. She actually makes an effort to try and be quiet and not wake me up in the morning when I'm having naps and all that. But the other carers don't. There's so much noise. Oh my God. And then they don't think about me at dinner time. So Mum like made all these meals, froze them, and then has like this schedule of when to take them out of the freezer. Mum is like, my parents definitely have issues and they're super in denial. And Mum's way of dealing with her issues is to just overplan like crazy and kind of controlling everything. Anyway, so she had this whole schedule of when to take things out. The thing is, I'm pretty sure she meant for me to eat some of that, and the amount that they give Mikey often didn't leave much for me to eat, and so that's why I've started getting takeaway, like my pizza, which I was about to grab the pizza box, but actually the phone is resting on the pizza box. Also, I finally got some takeaway on Monday, which is lasting me a long time because I'm the only one eating it. But yeah, like they were just giving him so much of the stuff and not really leaving much for me. And of course, I'm conscious. I'm looking at the schedule and what day he's supposed to eat the next thing. And like, can I eat any of this food because it's allocated to him? The carers, it doesn't occur to them that I am also here and I also need some of these things that he is consuming. And he's fat. I'm skinny. I have lost weight. Like I've dropped below 50 kilos again and I'm just not able to put on the weight. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm suddenly back below 50. It's a problem for me. Anyway, because, I think now I'm like just in the unhealthy range. Like generally to be healthy, I need to be at least 50 kilos and I'm not right now. Anyway, so they're not like the carers haven't really been told to even consider me. And, obviously no one is caring for me, even though I have severe mental illness. I'm being asked to care for Mikey instead in some ways. And like none of my supports are available because obviously my other brother's moved out. He's busy. My wise godmother is stuck in Melbourne. I'm going to keep calling it Melbourne even though it's not Melbourne. There was an earthquake there, an aftershock or something. I don't know if that's even close, but and then my like one friend who I don't mind hanging out with for no reason at all is like sick. And so she's offered to come over when I've been having these breakdowns, but I'm like, yeah, but you're sick. I mean, for her health, and then also I don't want to get it, and yeah, well, she lives quite a distance away, so I'm just like, yeah, no. So all my supports are like physically distant, and yeah, anyway, so there's no one looking after me except Triton, who is sometimes actually in more trouble. Shit, this video, I need to let him out soon. Although the breeder did say he could stay in there for like 3 to 4 hours at this age, but I'm not gonna let him. I've got a few things I need to do with him anyway. Yeah, so they're not considering me. And then, okay, let me jump to the most annoying thing, because like there's lots of little things that pissing me off. It's like no one's really thought about my care. No, with this, so with that weekend carer, like some of the stuff that she was doing. So she let Triton out of the crate, which, like, I crated him for a reason at that time of day. Oh my god. Because, you know, I told he needed to have a nap. If he doesn't nap, he gets cranky and he gets harder to control and he gets more nippy. And then because she let him out and didn't supervise, he went and shat himself and made a mess. And it's because he was barking, she says. I don't know for sure if he was actually barking before she let him out, because I noticed, like, when he's been out of the crate, he barks at them and barks at Mikey. And I will say one of the sort of satisfying things is I noticed that Triton, if I have a lower opinion of someone, he sort of picks up on it and he's more annoying towards them. At least that's what it seems to be to me. He'll actually, like, you know, he was harassing her, trying to bite her shoes a lot. And then I noticed with, like, the morning carer that I like, he's not like that with her. And then even with the other evening carer, who I think I like more than the weekend one, he was better with her as well. It's interesting. And then also, like, with Dad, when Dad sits on the couch, he just, like, gets all in Dad's face until Dad leaves the couch, whereas that doesn't happen as much with Mum. And it's just like, because Dad at the moment is the one who is causing me more stress generally, even though I've mainly talked about Mum in this video. Because Dad's the one who will more openly call me selfish and claim to be walking on eggshells. And if you were really walking on eggshells, you wouldn't say that to me, would ya? Anyway, no, I just find it kind of satisfying. Like, it's annoying trying to deal with Triton's behavior because he's more naughty around them. But on the other hand, if he's harassing them, I do get a little bit of satisfaction from that. Anyway, so with that carer, yeah, let him out. Turned off the rice, even though I still needed to eat mine. And then there's just, like, all these weird things that I found. So, like, we have these rolling blinds out there, and she would stop them, like, that far from the bottom or that far from the top, and, like, they stop automatically. Why would you stop them with that much to go? It's, like, it's weird. I know it's a minor thing, but it's, like, I'm just trying to understand the logic. I'm like, but why? And then I noticed, like we have a way of doing our, you know, our recycling. So there's, like, you know, bottles and cans and stuff, and then there's cardboard. And we usually put them on, like, the corner of the bench, and then when you go outside, you just take whatever, put them in the bins. But I don't know who set this up. I don't know if it was her. I don't know if it was my parents or what they told these carers to do. But, like, about a week into this whole ordeal, I noticed, like, we have this bin thing that has 2 bins in it, and we usually only use the front bin, and we put a large purple bin liner in it. But then, like, I noticed a while back that there was a yellow bin liner in the other one, and I just thought, oh, that's weird, because Dad hasn't used that for his compost in a long time. But I didn't actually open it to see what was in it, and it's only, like, you know, a week in when I tried to close the bin door, but the lid on the back one was sort of wonky, and so it didn't close properly. And then I had a look, and I saw they'd been putting all the recycling into that second bin. Now, the yellow bin liners are only in Mikey's room and generally used for his nappies. And so they've taken one from there, put it into this bin, and put the recycling in, unless my parents set this up. But if my parents set this up, wouldn't they use the purple bin liner, the bigger one that actually fits that bin? So I think it's that weekend carer, because she was the first one. I don't know for sure, though. Putting all this recycling, not even rinsed out, into this extra bin that we don't ever use. Like, I assume my parents didn't tell them to do this, so they've just made that up. Instead of asking, how do you handle recycling? Where does this go? They just made their own bin for it. And like, you know, that's fine if it's your own place, but if you're living somewhere else and there is someone like me who can tell you what's going on, why wouldn't you ask? And just like, and so like, you know, stuff's going in there, it's not washed, it's not sorted, and also like the cheese ran out, and I saw them put the, like, when I opened it I could see the cheese thing under there, and I wasn't gonna dig it out. I'm like, this is my fucking parents' problem at this point. I'm just like, I cannot. I was, there's so many like little things like that, and that was like one thing where I was just like, I fucking can't. Parents' problem. I took photos of it. Now she unexpectedly turned up yesterday night to fill in for the other girl while she was on a video call, because they're like friends, and I don't know if my parents know about this or if it was like an official arrangement or what, but she was here and I saw her, like, you know, because it was bin night, she actually emptied that, so all that stuff's gone. I don't know, I think she emptied it all into the cans bin, and even though there was cardboard in there, and I don't know if she separated out the cardboard first, because like gross. But I wasn't going to check, and I wasn't going to say anything because it's fucking not my problem anymore. The thing is, with that cheese thing, we actually refill it, so now my parents will just have to go and buy another one. So it's fucking not my problem. Just like, I'm not going to tell. Like, the only thing I really told that carer was like not to lock the back door, because if you lock the back door with a key, then the little toggle thing doesn't work, and the only way to open it again is with a key. And it's just like, there's so many little things. And also like the way that so while she was here, the weekend lady, she put the dishwasher on twice when it was like less than half full, and the first time like visibly half full, because like it was being stacked properly until then, and then towards the end of the weekend she put it on again with her haphazard stacking of the dishwasher. And like, I know people get emotional about how to stack a dishwasher, and there are some people who will do it like my dad to try and fit in as much as possible so that you have the most efficient use of water and energy. Or you have people like my mum who would prefer to stack it with a balance of efficiency and making sure things clean properly instead of shit getting stuck because things are too dense. That more balanced approach. But no, this chick, it was like chaos. There was no attempt to follow either of those strategies. It was very loosely packed, like less than half full. I took photos of it and I'm just like, holy shit. I think I even have a short. I don't know, like I filmed a short vertical video. I don't know if I'll post it to YouTube, but I was just like, oh my God. And then because she was here last night, and I had been stacking the dishes properly after she'd left, oh, that's the other thing, is sometimes she would rearrange my stacking to make it crap, and I'm just like, but fucking why? Why would you do that? Not rinsing things properly. Anyway, last night I had there were plates stacked really nicely, and she was doing something in the, like I was doing something with Triton, and I heard a clattering, and then she just sort of disappeared to do something with Mikey. And when I went and looked at the dishwasher, she'd knocked over a bunch of the ones that had been stacked and hadn't like put them right again, just left them like that. And so I took a photo of that as well, and then I stacked it properly, rinsed one of the things that wasn't rinsed properly, and then also Mum hates having sharp knives in the dishwasher, so I washed it properly, dried it straight away, put it back in the knife block. And I took a photo of my stacking afterwards as well and sent it to relevant people. But I was just like, you just knocked everything over and you're just going to leave it like that. And you should have seen the stacking. I can't even be bothered to edit in them. Like, it's just, there's always, like, I know it probably sounds petty, but there's all these annoying little things. And, like, I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that, like, my parents will have told the carers that I have mental illness. But because my parents don't really understand it, I have a feeling they might have portrayed me as some kind of idiot, because some people can't tell the difference between mental illness and intellectual impairment. And it may, like, my parents probably didn't intend it this way, but it may have come across as me being useless. And so these carers just didn't ask me how things work. And then just made up stuff and then changed things. Like, the other thing is, this care on the weekend, she threw out one of the papers that was under the fruit bowl and, like, didn't even ask, are you saving this for anything? And luckily, like, you know, I had already used it for one of the bin liners because, like, we put a bit of paper at the end. I've seen Dad do it, so I do it his way. But, like, you know, you just throw out someone's stuff that's clear, like, it's not in any clear pile that this is rubbish. She just saw it, thought it's been there a while, I'm going to throw it out. You just throw it up. I don't get it when you're in someone else's house and you just make up shit. It's just, and yeah, and then, like, you know, I did also notice, I think, like, being here from Friday night, or she did the daycare on Friday, so from early Friday until Monday morning, I think that was too long for her, because, like, she's also trying to fit in her life. She'd do weird things like put on the dishwasher at weird times, put on the washing at weird times, take forever to leave with Mikey, not handle things well with Triton, and then, like, you know, I think she was getting frustrated with Mikey complaining. Like, not everyone has the personality to spend that much time with Mikey. There is another carer who Mikey sometimes has and who has stayed the night, I think, for like a really short trip my parents did. He's an older guy though, and he's had some health issues, but he's really good with Mikey. And he actually gives a shit about me. Like, he'll ask about me. And, you know, offer to buy me pastries when he does a pastry run for everyone. Like, you know, he'll actually pay attention. Just like, he couldn't do it this time because he recently had some kind of medical thing. I think he's waiting to come back. But, like, his personality, he is a little bit odd because he's into some conspiracy theories. My mum finally convinced him to get vaccinated during COVID, though, because otherwise she wasn't going to let him be around Mikey because, you know, immune problems. And back then, that was back when COVID was bad, before anyone had immunity. But, you know, he was that kind of anti-vax type until Mum set him straight. But then every now and then he'll come up with a new conspiracy theory, and sometimes Dad will debate him, and I'm like, just don't. Don't do it. But I don't know, they don't get too aggro about it. It's just like, oh my god. Anyway, but he's a really sweet guy and caring guy, and he has the right personality to be able to deal with Mikey for that amount of time. Whereas this chick, I don't know, she's a bit younger as well. I sensed that she was getting frustrated, and yeah. Anyway, there's just like a lot of this stressful stuff where, you know, I probably haven't even listed them all because this would go on for an hour if I did, but it's just like all these little things where, yeah, you know, the stress over my birthday, having to think about my birthday and bringing up a lot of trauma stuff for me, a lot of stuff about my childhood, people not giving a shit about me, or not really understanding me to be able to buy me a good gift, and, like, you know, buying things that they want. Like when Dad got me Lord of the Rings, it's because he likes Lord of the Rings, not because I was into that kind of thing. And then, like, that was as a kid. And then, yeah, the 3 to 5 p.m. gap that should never have been there. And if she tries to do it again, I'm going to be like, fuck no. You can't do that to me because, like, I'm trying to manage my life. That's like one extra thing that's just too much. Because, yeah, especially with Triton, especially during the puppy phase where I can't trust him to be on his own for a long period of time, like, trying to fit my day around him and then be home for Mikey and be able to do the shopping for Mikey. Like, I need to fit that in as well as look after him when I've already got all this stuff going on with Triton. And, you know, like, he had his last manners class while all this was going on as well. So there's just, like, so many things going on. That annoying gap, I don't know why she thought it was a smart idea. Like, just extend one of the carers extra, or give each an hour extra and meet them in the middle so they can do a handover and, you know, give me a chance to be able to do things. It's meant from like Monday to Thursday. I haven't been able to do anything else. And then Friday to Sunday is busy periods. Oh, it's just like really limited my life at a period of time where I'm trying so hard to piece bits of my life back together. It's just like an extra thing that no one really thought, gee, how would she do with it? And, you know, Mum, she did at some point ask me, but only after she'd arranged it and, you know, then was like, oh, can you do this? And like using this sort of guilt feeling to try and make me feel like I can't say no. I often feel like the way they ask me stuff, I feel like I can't say no. But I think at this point, I'm going to be like, I'm not doing it. I'm putting my foot down. So there's that. And then also just the carers. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I don't think my parents realized would be important to tell people who were actually staying the night here and having to live here for like short periods of time. The one who does the weekdays would only do like the afternoon shift and then the overnight shift. And the overnight shift, there's not really much to do. But the one who was here, like, the whole 24 hours in a cycle for a few days, they need to know how things in the house work, and know also that if they don't know how something works, fucking just ask me. I'll be less annoyed if you ask me and do it right than if you don't ask and just do things wrong. Because a lot of the things that she was doing, it actually created more work for me. Like having to clean Triton's butt, like having to unstack the dishwasher because I didn't trust her to put things back where they're supposed to go, having to clean extra things. There's just all these little things that created extra work for me and extra stress that I did not need. And the point of having a carer is so that you don't have to stress. And yeah, I just feel like a lot of the time picking up the pieces that they don't know. And then there's some unrealistic things like Mum put on Mikey's schedule that he would be able to get the washing in, which is actually a really good activity for him because, he has cerebral palsy, and so it's important for him to get physical activity in, and getting things off the washing line, he has to lift his arms, and he has to have fine motor coordination. It's actually a really good activity for him. But because she had this 3 to 5 p.m. gap, he wasn't going to do that with the afternoon carer because she gets in too late. By then it's dark, and the 3 p.m. carer just drops him off and leaves. So if he's going to do the washing, I did it with him a few days because, he would come out and complain. And I'm like, okay, you want something to do, here's what you'll do. And, he likes to show off how strong he is, carrying the basket in. I pretend, I'm like, oh, Mikey, it's too heavy, can you help me? I would pretend that, and he thinks it's great. He thinks, look, I'm going to show off to my sister how strong I am. But I had to do that at 4 p.m. And there's no carer here at 4 p.m, but Mum's listed as the carer and Mikey get the washing in. And when Mikey hasn't been complaining, I've just done it myself. There's unrealistic stuff that Mum built in there. If she wanted Mikey to do that activity, she needed to organise the carers to come earlier or to have that period of time covered so that one of them was here to do that with him instead of me having to do it with him. And, usually 4 p.m. to 6 p.m, if I'm not doing something with Triton, that's when I would try and get in the studio and finally do something for myself. But no, instead, I'm getting Mikey to take stuff off the washing line, supervising him, making sure he doesn't break any of the pegs, making sure he doesn't trip over, and making sure he doesn't drop clothes on the floor, and making sure he gets that physical activity with the fine motor skills and the reaching up in. There's just dumb shit like that. Anyway, I've ranted enough. That's what's been going on the past while. That's at least some of why I have not been okay. There have been days where the pressure on me was so much that it was adding to some suicidal ideation, which hopefully by saying that quickly, YouTube may not understand my accent and get upset about me mentioning it, but whatever, that's what it is. But there's also other things every now, because I'm going through this processing trauma thing without having escaped the traumatic situation I'm in, and without my parents really understanding what needs to be done to help me with that. I'm still in this situation because I'm processing trauma without having escaped. There are lots of little things that can set off memories for me, and as my psychologist says, re-traumatize me. So sometimes it's things that my parents do, but sometimes it's also like this morning, I saw Square Comics, and it was about a cockroach and how cockroaches can survive the harshest environments, and then the cockroach says, I don't want to. And it just made me think about, people who say, oh, I admire your strength, because, I talk about my mental illness openly, and they think I'm so strong for that. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm strong to survive this far, but I shouldn't have to. And even the strongest people have a breaking point. You can keep piling on more and more weights. At some point, everything will break. So I shouldn't have to do that. And then it just brought up memories of also because I was a smart kid, no one helped me in school. Even with subjects where I was clearly struggling and didn't know how to do things for myself, I just made it up. There was in history, there was an assignment in year 7 where we had to make jewelry based on ancient Egypt, and I had no idea how to fucking do that. The internet wasn't as big a thing back then, so I didn't know how to look up what to even make. And the students would come up and say, oh, it's got lapis lazuli or whatever. I don't even know how to pronounce it. And of course it's not. It's just some kid thing that they stuck on there. But I just didn't even know any of that, because No one helped me. No one explained anything to me. And even with like maths, which I was good at, with the gifted and talented programs, they'd expect me to just know algebra, to just know that the letter represents a number. And so they'd give me like, add these numbers up, add these letters up. And I'd be like, but letters, how do you add up letters? Like they never explain those things to me because they think, oh, she's smart. She'll just magically know everything. And so people don't help me because they think I'll just magically have knowledge. Knowledge is not the same as intelligence. And then because I didn't display any obvious behavioral issues as a child, no one thought, gee, something's wrong with her. Maybe we should help or, talk to her or whatever. I would just get depressed and be quiet and withdraw, and people would just leave me alone to sort of wallow in that. Whereas, obviously disabled brother gets everything, but also my other brother, he did play up at school sometimes, and so they would pay attention to that, whereas I was very well behaved, and so they just think she's fine, we don't need to do anything about her. And so just little things like that set off the fact that no one helps me. People think I'm so competent and whatever that they don't see how much I'm struggling, and then they're surprised when I cannot function in society, like you're socioeconomically privileged, you're smart and talented and reasonably good looking. You've got everything for success except for the disabled brother and the huge impact of trauma that has completely erased the benefit of all those privileges. Anyways, and a lot of little things can set me off, and that's just where I'm at, because for a while I was doing okay, but I was just getting randomly depressed and I didn't know why. Now I know why. It's bringing all the trauma up, and I cannot cope with everything. I cannot cope with anything, really. The fact that I am still alive, I don't know how I'm doing that. I think it's just a fear of everything that can go wrong, and I don't know how long that fear is going to outweigh my disdain for having to exist in this life, this world, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how long I can do it for. That's why people need to realize, even though I seem to be fine, I'm really not. And when I show emotions, it's bad. When I show that I'm angry or upset, I don't really show anger, I show more frustration. Anger is kind of an alien thing to me. I probably have deeply suppressed anger, but when I'm upset and annoyed, or when I show those kinds of things, it's bad. And when I cry, it's really bad, especially in public. And right now, I can feel some of that sadness, but I'm not showing it. I even do this smile thing. I have some really strong defenses, and people can't see through it, and they don't know how badly I'm actually doing. Super frustrating. Anyway, I need to look after Triton, and Mike will be home soon, and it's just I need to change into lazy people clothes, because I've just been to the pub. I also walked Triton in this. Still got jeans and shoes on. I've got lazy shoes though. There's no shoelaces. They're the ones I got to walk around Japan, so I wouldn't have to be constantly tying up shoelaces when I was there. That was a while ago. Anyway, I gotta go. I'll just disappear so his cards can show. Boom.